Folks, welcome in. It is a glorious morning here. Well, not so much here in the Northeast with my 76ers being eliminated from the playoffs. Welcome in. It is a Thursday heading down through the month of May here with us, folks. Major League Baseball, NBA, NHL, a lot of things coming to a head. Teams getting eliminated. Less and less sports options here on the plate each and every day for us here. But welcome into the show, the right side of campus. I'll be your host today, Donnie Rightside. Jeff having a few technical difficulties, so hopefully he'll be able to join us here and also, chime in with some good thoughts here. Welcome into the chat box. I'll get in there in just a few moments once we can get some of these tweets out there and retweet some of these links to help get the show started and underway. Once again, welcome in sportsbookreview.com, our promoted sportsbook here today. As in the past couple weeks, as usual, Intertops, the good people at Intertops, great interface, fast payouts, fantastic lines. Always check in with Intertops. Support the people that support us here at sportsbookreview.com. We'll get into the morning headlines in just a few moments here. Let me get into the chat box. As always, when you're trying to run that, without a co-pilot right now, some things take a little bit longer to get underway. Just popping in here. There we go. Let me just say welcome into the chat box here. All right, we'll get things underway. Aragon's in here. Steve's in here. Giorgio's in here. Morning. A lot to go over today for us. Some interesting topics. As you see down there on the headlines there, Rafael Palmeiro and Kurt Warner. Matt Patricia, rap music at Duke. Two things that you don't probably hear too much there, but some interesting, everyday topics. As again, when we talk about the morning headlines here, we like to bring some sports into it. And yes, Duke has sports. So that's why we're going to include that interesting feature there. Mets out of order. We'll get to that in just a few moments. Always enough time to have a good laugh in there. But we'll get some retweets and some links sent out there. Once again, welcome into the chat box. Again, show is built on the chat box. We have a great chat box. We usually have a great show out there. And I will retweet this that we are live on the air. And we will certainly have some fun and get after it for us today. Now, if you're looking, what's up, Nasty Nate? If we're looking today, as you see the first box down there on the left-hand side, Rafael Palmeiro and Kurt Warner, you're saying to yourself, why are we talking about two old, washed-up players, one that was in steroids and one that obviously was a great NFL quarterback, Hall of Fame quarterback, that has retired for a few years? Well, some people seem to get that itch, and my man Terrell Owens always has that itch. Anytime you ask T.O., or if you see T.O. doing a radio spot anywhere, he always seems to think he can play in today's NFL, which, a little bit eye-skeptical. I mean, he was a great specimen. But then we get a look at Rafael Palmeiro in his 50s trying to make a comeback in baseball. Look, if you're in your 50s and you're making a comeback in baseball and you've already been busted for steroids, what's the first thing that comes to mind at this point when you're looking at Rafael Palmeiro? Probably juiced up and use some HGH to try to get after it again. I don't understand why you can't just retire. I mean, he made a lot of money. Is he going to make Major League Baseball again? No. Is he going to make a lot of money again in baseball? No. Some guys just get that itch and just can't seem to hang it up. Like that wrestler. You've seen Andre the Giant, Ric Flair. I mean, these guys, Hulk Hogan, wrestle into their 60s at this point because it's hard to give up that limelight. What Rafael Palmeiro is trying to do right now is kind of funny to me. Maybe, he gets on with the Camden River Sharks, which I think now in South Jersey are actually eliminated, or maybe he plays for that team out in Coney Island, which is resurrected a couple years in Major League Baseball. But it's always trying to fun there to see what's up. What's good, folks? Welcome in again. If you're just looking in, it's just, you're just seeing my mug right here. Sitting back here, the big man having a little bit of technical issues, but we'll fight through and we'll go over some interesting stuff here and get through some morning headlines, cap some NBA basketball, the Eastern Conference Finals, Western Conference Finals now set with all four teams. Not too many huge surprises. There's a Sixer fan. And the Sixers were favored to win this round versus the Celtics, but pretty apparent the Celtics were overall the better team. The Sixers hung tight in every single game except game one, had the lead in most of those games, sometimes double-digit or even a 20-point lead. But again, if you don't have a closer in the NBA, just like in Major League Baseball, you don't have a closer, you're not going to win very few games, and especially if it comes back late in games, you need somebody who's going to be able to handle the ball, who's used to that situation. Tatum, albeit a rookie, he was fantastic, got to the rim whenever he wanted, and the 76ers just couldn't get that same kind of luck. They had a couple bad possessions in the fourth quarter, which they've done throughout the entire series, but we'll get into that talk a little bit more. What's good, everybody out there? If you like the show, hit the thumbs button up. If you don't like the show, hit the thumbs button down. All engagement is good engagement. A lot of people say, if you're in the ad or, you're out there trying to sell subscriptions and stuff, all publicity is good publicity. If you're coming in here, you got something to say, make sure you say it on the chat box there. We'll have a good back and forth in this. If you guys want to talk about some other games out there that are taking place or you lost on last night, because I lost my wager last night. I also lost my roundtable wager last night. We'll go over that in just a few moments when we wrap up a few different topics here in Major League Baseball and go over what happened, what should have happened, what we thought would have happened yesterday, and have a little bit of fun with that. But again, getting back to Rafael Palmeiro and Kurt Warner. Kurt Warner also saying, he's getting the itch to try to come back and play. play. Kurt, man, just retire. It's okay. Just because you didn't get the Monday Night Football booth, man, doesn't mean that you have to get back in the football altogether and think you can throw some passes. You know, you used to have a thing. I know I'm a little bit older than most people out here, even in the chat box. Do you remember when Jeff George, yes, that old man, Jeff George, who was always talking nonsense into his late 30s and early 40s, that if he just had another shot in the NFL, he's got a better arm than everybody, but he's always had a 10-cent head heading in there. Some people just can't give it up. Look at Bernard Hopkins in boxing. The guy, if you let him go, probably will box till he's 80 years old. A phenomenal athlete and specimen, but sometimes it's hard for the people around you to let go and say, look, man, it's okay to retire. It's okay to play golf every day. It's okay to sit in the studio and analyze at this point. But older athletes still trying to hang on to the limelight. And they get it. The most thing they miss is the crowd, the adoration that you get, the boys in the locker room. Where are we going tonight? Once you're out of the NFL and back home with the wife and kids, sometimes life doesn't, break the way that you certainly wanted to. But ain't no shame, man. Go golf every day. Go fish every day. Have fun. Move to Las Vegas. Gamble every day. It doesn't matter at this moment. But hey, it's just the way it is out there. If anybody has any thoughts on Rafael Palmeiro and Kurt Warner, I don't know if your thoughts would be positive on it. I don't even know how they could possibly on there for us. Say10 finally in here. Mr. Say10, folks, if you don't know Mr. Say10, great follow out there on Twitter. But my favorite part about Say10 is the time he asked me, like, again, he's the luchador. So you don't know his age. You don't know what he looks like. There are pictures floating around, but they cannot be confirmed right now. But he is a 19-year-old kid from Juarez, Mexico, checking in. Welcome to the show, Mr. Say10. Always positive there. Guan White's in here. Armin's in here. Best Gambler's in here. Jack's in here. Nasty Nate's in here. Everybody's in here. Brad's in here. We'll have a lot of fun here. Big Man should join us here relatively soon. Why don't we keep it going here after talking about some old fogies? There we go, old fogies. Jeff, Rafael Palmeiro, Kurt Warner, thinking about coming back, old guys. Why can't they just stay home and enjoy life with their wife and kids, man?
I'm not sure. I don't know. I guess they are not. And listen, Donnie, it is in a way kind of sad because I look back on my own life. There are certain things that you're never ready to let go from. Like I admit maybe someday, I'm gonna have to let go of certain things. But it's hard. You miss those things. You miss. You know, it's kind of like that guy that is like 43 years old and he's still going to the club and stuff. I mean, dude, it's time to move on, man. I mean, it's for like 20 and 30-year-olds. But I get it. I mean, the guy wants to try one more time. Maybe he should just stay at home, but it's hard to let go, man. Sometimes maybe he doesn't feel like he got the best chance. He kind of ruined it with the steroids and stuff. Yeah, I mean, who knows though? I mean, does it really bother anyone though? It's like independent league and who cares? Maybe he'll kill it, You never know.
Yeah, him and Tim Tebow can, barnstorm around there. Rafi and Timmy, try to get some box office appeal like they used to do back in the
W
20s and 30s to try to make some extra
We
cash in the
actually
offseason. Yeah,
we
go
actually
ahead.
have an independent league in my town where I live now, and it's been an interesting thoroughfare for certain people. Like we've had like Phillies that have played with it, but then we've had like just like I remember in high school I had a teacher. He like played for them. Like he was an old baseball player. Like I don't know, maybe he'll come through here. That'd be pretty cool. I remember Tracy McGrady. He played for the Sugarland Skeeters in the Atlantic League, and uh, and he came through here. So yeah, it's you never know with that league, but yeah, we'll see what happens. Maybe I'll get to see Rafi. How old is he now? 52 or so,
I think it's
like that.
53. 53, yeah. I mean, hey, Jeff, I mean, if you're doing, supposed, vitamin B injection shots, a little HGH and some steroids, you can rejuvenate yourself. Ask Jose Canseco. You know what I mean? I mean, these guys can live a
Oh,
long
sure,
way with a little bit of help from the doctors out there.
sure, sure. No, you're totally right. Donnie, Matt Patricia's in the news, and it's not for good
Yeah.
things. Matt Patricia is having to explain himself a little bit. Now, I think this is a massive, massive failure by the Detroit Lions to not see this. Um, you know, it if you're arrested, Donnie, especially if you're an NFL team, it's not hard to find that stuff out. I guess they just kind of assumed that Matt Patricia had never been arrested, but he was. The case was dismissed, but um, what really happened there? He's denying the claim, um, and he's going to speak later today about it. But this is something where how do you explain this? How do you not know about this?
Yeah, I don't, I mean, I guess he's probably been on a lot of job interviews, I guess going through New England and previously there. I don't know how it gets brought up or why it would get brought up because you weren't, it wasn't a felony conviction that you had or never went to trial. I don't even know if any charges were brought, but it was an allegation. I don't know if you lead with that when you go in there, especially with something 20 years ago. If it was maybe like a year and a half, 2 years ago, 4 years ago when you were with the Patriots, I see. But it's kind of interesting. And they're making a huge deal out of it. Now, something happened in 1996, whether or not it happened, no charges, no trial, no anything brought to the attention. It's kind of funny how in today's day and age, Jeff, over 20 years later, you're having a press conference after you get a job to address allegations from 1996 that never came true, never went to trial. You weren't convicted. You didn't settle out of court or do any of that. It's just in this whole, hashtag Me Too, all this stuff where you're bringing a lot of these things to light that were 20 and 25 years ago, which is good because it cleanses the system and pushes people out that really shouldn't be there or who are probably still doing bad things to this day. I just don't know how it's relevant at this point. It's not a good look, trust me, for the Detroit Lions, for Matt Patricia or anybody, but him coming forward 22 years later on something that wasn't a charge or didn't go to trial, wasn't dismissed or had a mistrial at this point, it's kind of hard to be relative in this.
Right. I think it just goes back to how they didn't know about it, and again, now in the culture today, it has to be explained more. It has to be discussed. We'll see what happens here. Again, I mean, it was unproven. Um, we'll see. But Matt Patricia under a little hot water, and it really goes to a lot of teams down. I mean, you look at even like, and I'm not relating this to this kind of crime or that this person has committed a crime, but you look at even like the Sixers. Okay, they bring in Markel Fultz. It's possible Markel Fultz has mental problems. I mean, it's kind of clear, really. Um, how did they not know that? Is that something they just glossed over and said, "Oh, it'll be fine"? You know, it's become a big problem at this point. Certain teams aren't understanding. I mean, they're so concerned in the NFL about, if a guy is, a homosexual or his mom's a prostitute. Instead of asking stupid questions like that, why aren't you asking the real questions, the questions that are important, the questions that teams need to know? I don't know. I don't get it. Again, this is something that I don't think it takes a long time to search for. You could probably find it pretty quickly. We'll see. Matt Patricia obviously going to speak a little bit later today about this. Question is, will he have a pencil in his ear, Donnie?
Yeah, or a beard. Did he grow up like you saw when he shaved up and looked real nice to get the job? Does he go back to looking like a slob this year on the sidelines? That's the whole ticket I'm looking for.
Yes, we'll see. Let's move on. This Duke rap music case is pretty well, not really a case, just something that happened. It's kind of interesting. I didn't hear about this. Morency told me about it, and I didn't really I haven't heard about it. But this is kind of a fucked up thing. I mean, so Donnie, I don't know if you know about this story, but basically
I do.
this student affairs guy, Larry Manetta, he's the student affairs vice president. So his goal is to help students in their college life, to get by and to do things and to be the best student possible. So he goes into this coffee shop on campus, and there was a rap song playing, "Get Paid" by Young Dolph, which, you know, the song, probably not the best song to play at a coffee shop, especially with the chorus being what it is and that kind of thing. But so maybe they didn't know, and maybe you know how iPods are, whatever you use, phones or whatever. Maybe it skipped to the song. They're doing something, you don't even think about it. He comes in, orders the tea and vegan muffin that he gets, and he's not happy with the song choice. So instead of going over and saying, "Hey, listen, um, I know I'm just one person, but maybe this isn't the best thing to play in here. You never know who might come in, that kind of thing." He goes, instead of doing that, he goes and reports it and gets the two fired. Just a kind of a pathetic move. Also, according to others, he was harassing the baristas, complaining, whining, harassing. They were calling the coffee shop's office and asked to resign. Um, pretty weak move by this guy. I mean, isn't he supposed to be helping kids as opposed to bringing them down and getting them fired from a job where they probably don't make a ton of money anyway? And this will probably ruin more of their college career than they know.
Were the kids students on campus or were they just workers? Because I
I,
mean, a
I,
lot of
I,
campuses just have workers on campus.
I believe they were both students.
There, but yeah, it's kind of. I mean, you would think if he goes to this place, and I'm assuming it's not his first time, being at Duke and going into this coffee shop. If he
Right.
goes in 7 straight days and they're playing the same music and they're laughing like, man, we're going to leave this on. I understand, right? I mean, you say, hey, look, get the point. But we've all been, and how do we know that it wasn't satellite radio? Like, how we can say, hey, look, I ran, shops and food industries and stuff. When we come in the morning, you got a lot to set up. Somebody just might pop on their, iPad, you're right, put it on some speakers, leave it running, and you don't know what's on, play 9, or you might have a little mix up there, and somebody comes in early, gets a sandwich or whatever, and, oh, turn hey, turn that down back there, man. We don't want to hear that right now as the manager of the store. But usually from a position where you're walking in, all you say is, hey, I don't know if that, are there curse words? Like, play stupid. Was that curse words that I just heard on the song? And 9 times out of 10, the worker's like, oh, we're sorry about that. Turn that down over there. No big deal. And everybody walks in, it's fine.
Right.
This
Right.
whole notion in the day and age, Jeff, that we live in, where you would walk in and hear a curse word on a song and be so offended with your tea and your vegan muffin that you make a big scene, as opposed to making a joke out of it, like, who's putting this music on back there? What's going on back here? Is there a parental advisory on what you're playing back there? Everybody gets a laugh. It never happens again, and you move on. And now we have national news. People get fired, and it just looks all corny on everybody's part.
Yeah. I don't get why you would do something like this. This is a weak move by a guy that's supposed to be helping out students. According to the New York Post, Donnie, or I'm sorry, according to Duke Chronicle, Mineta could decline to comment about this, but he did tell the Duke Chronicle that he was shocked to hear lyrics he found inappropriate playing in the coffee shop, specifically the line, "I fucked her so good." So he didn't like that line. Now, keep in mind, Donnie, it's not like these baristas were out there, reciting the lyrics. Unfortunately, the song just may have played over the loudspeaker. But let this be a lesson to you. If you have a store out there, make sure you get yourself a nice little um, subscription
Yeah,
to,
or don't play
you
music. We
know,
didn't play music during the day. Yeah, it's
yeah,
quite a
yeah. But
distraction there for what you're trying to do, and you can't please all parties. Which again is why what you walk into most places, Jeff, just some random ass elevator music just to get you through the day because you're not
right
going to get in
now,
trouble.
Donnie, here's another thing that I also kind of missed, but now I'm reading it now. Brittany Brown, one of the employees, um, says that they usually play music off a Spotify playlist, which
Yeah.
there you go. She also said that she comped the muffin and said, we'll shut it off immediately, but he insisted, that she ring him up and he'll pay for it, and he walked out and then called them. I mean, so they actually did acknowledge that they apologized for it, and he
Yeah,
still was playing.
exactly. No, exactly. And you know what the best
Really,
part about this is, Jeff? Being his whole bastion of integrity, he's probably already looking down the line, being like, I have a problem with this. It would look really bad if they actually comped my meal and then I got mad at him. So I'm going to demand the pay and act like I paid for this. So I didn't get any gifts out of this, or anything like this. I bet you that was all in this guy's grand scheme plan to be like, I'm so offended. Everybody's so offended by everything nowadays. But you're right. They acknowledge it. And it's very easy. And who doesn't understand that? Like, how many times, like, I have a 6-year-old kid and, I'm watching HBO and I'm not paying attention and curse words are flying on the TV screen. And then you turn it off or you change it or make a joke and move on. Why do we always have to be offended by something like this? Can't you understand that? Like, oh my God, a couple curse words came through. They said, oh, sorry about that. We didn't know it was on the playlist. Sorry about that, sir. We apologize. What's wrong with that in life? Is there anything wrong with apologizing and moving
bro.
on?
Do you know how many fucks I heard when I was a kid?
Jesus,
Fuck
a
it.
million. Yes.
Really. I mean, come on, man. I mean, I turned out pretty good. I mean, well, maybe I
Yeah.
didn't, but I mean, listen. I
Oh,
mean, this is weak, man. This is a pussy move. This is a typical, elitist, dickhead, asshole move. I'm better than you, and watch, I can get you fired for what you did, you little pricks. That this is what this is. And you know what's funny, Donnie? I read also that, like, I think yesterday, they actually protested in his office playing that song. So
oh my God.
th-
No,
they're
yeah, come
they're
on.
they're not backing down from this. Weak move by them at Duke, and
So they got
Mineta.
fired, but they're still students there?
I believe so. Yeah. I think it was just like a privately owned shop that they let them go. I don't know. But weak move by Larry Mineta. You should be ashamed of yourself for this.
Yeah.
Um, Also, Donnie, keep in mind, last month, Mineta championed freedom of speech in a tweet recommending a book on the subject to those who believe that college universities should prohibit hate speech. So he has been a bastion for freedom of speech content and things like that. Maybe instead of ringing people up for stupid little things like this, you should use your voice too. And by the way, maybe just play this show instead of whatever music
Yeah.
you want to play. That'd be a better
That we
idea.
yeah, we might get
Uh,
more baristas fired though if we play the show in the shop.
yeah, right, right. Good point. Good point. Especially with me on it. Mets bat out of order, Donnie. You don't see this very often. The
No.
Mets batted out of order. Very simple. They didn't follow the lineup card that was posted on the dugout door, and they were rung up for it for this. I believe it was supposed to be a Drupal Cabrera, and it was someone else. This is a manager issue. This is something that you blame the manager for. I guess he just wrote it down the wrong way, and everyone just goes to lineup card and does what the lineup card says. You blame Callaway for this, and this ended up hurting them. They lose 2-1. I believe the uh, Cabrera being out would have probably resulted in a run. If he wouldn't have been ruled out? Tough move here for Callaway. Mets just continue to do everything wrong.
Yeah, and I mean that's just the Mets MO at this point. You sort of get a little bit of laugh out of it, but it was kind of interesting, and it's one of those that could have gotten buried, Jeff, if it was like a night game there. But it was the only game on in the
Yeah.
middle of the day, and it's the first inning, so it just caught my eye right away. I got such a laugh out of it, coming out and just say, "Hey, look, you handed in the wrong lineup card. This guy should have been batting fourth. He was batting third. He gets rung up after a double." And kudos to the Reds for not even drawing attention to it until something good happened to then come out, because it's very easy for a manager to jump the gun and run up to the plate. He's not supposed to be up at this time. Let him bat. If he doubles in the gap, he's out automatically. It's a perfect scenario for the Reds. They handled it correctly. The Mets, the joke on the other hand.
I guess the big question is like who notices something like this? Like, is it the
Well,
other
it's in both
manager?
dugouts. Yeah, yeah. You
Okay.
exchange hand up or the card, so each manager knows who's in. Then you just hang it on your wall, and you can cross it
But
off
this
like, yeah,
seems
this
like
guy left
something
there,
that
this guy left, all that.
you would just like kind of not even like you don't even concern yourself with. You're just like, well, I'm sure they'll just bat right. I'm not even going to look at this. But what
No, yeah, you don't. But I mean, the pitcher's going to look at. I mean, everybody's going to look at it, saying, "All right, who we got in the first inning? All right, how you going to pitch to Cabrera in the 3 hole?" And all of a sudden, he's not in the 3 hole. That the alarm bells go off, and they hold on to it and use it as an ace card. And came out right away as soon as he doubled. Yeah, he's out. Let's get out of this inning.
Yeah, interesting. The fact that they were able to see this and say something about it, yeah, it cost the Mets a run and it cost the Mets the game. But a gaffe made by the Mets that I don't think anyone's surprised about. This is a team that is in ruins right now. They're really struggling. They lose 2 out of 3 to the Reds. Not good. Let's move on to the NBA. The elephant in the room, Donnie. The Sixers. We had one game last night. Sixers lose 114-112 to the Boston Celtics. Series is over, and Boston moves on. Um, Listen, I mean, it was the same story the whole playoff, the whole series. Not being able to finish what you started, and this has been a problem for this team all year. Not being able to finish what you started, Donnie. You had an opportunity. I even tweeted myself. Did anyone think that the last play of the game where they gave the ball to Saric? I mean, was that the decision? I like Sarge. He's a great player. He was good last night. He was great the last 2 nights. But Joel Embiid, during that play with Sarge was dominating. And I know he missed a layup, and there's no excuse for that. He's missed 8 different shots in the last couple seconds, which is not good. But it was just execution. I mean, you're up 4 with a minute and a half to go. You need to find ways to close the game out. And we go back to what you said, Donnie, what we've been talking about. You don't have a closer in this team. You do not have a guy at the end of the game that can say, "Give me the ball. I'm going to get you a basket," and that's that. And then the out of bounds play with 2 seconds left. I'm not saying you're going to make a shot there, but when does that baseball pass ever work? Especially in the NBA where everyone's 6'6", everyone can jump high. It's just not going to work, man. Just bad coaching the whole series really did the Sixers in. Limited ability to close games out. It was just really irritating, Donnie, at times.
Yeah, I mean, It's all about the closer spot because you had the same game repeatedly come on where the Sixers had a lead late and couldn't close. And it wasn't even like Jeff, because again, last night was a big. I mean, JJ Redick missed a monster shot. You pay him $20 million. He hits the late fleeting three, but he can't hit the wide open set 3-point shot with game of 5-point lead late and probably clinched it. But the same MO over and over and over. When you talk about the Sixers, it's not so much that they're not talented, because they are extremely talented. You could talk about the coach, and I get that. But the same MO keeps popping up in these close games, Jeff, and you saw it time and time again in the Celtics series. How many times, Jeff, I'm not even talking the last minute of the game or minute and a half of the game where you can't get a defensive stop or you can't get a good offensive possession. If you remember, the Sixers went up 4 points. I believe it was like 94-90 and had 7 straight bad possessions, which led to a 10-0 Celtics run. Now, when you just take the game and you look at it, not even from an analytical point, you watch the Celtics on offense, Jeff, and I don't care what offense they're running. They're making the right decisions. They're not firing up a three sideways like Bellinelli with the game on the line. Joel Embiid taking 3-point shots that are hitting the side of the backboard that are contested. You're looking at the Celtics getting to the rim, getting fouled, kicking open to the man with the open jumper, always in the box and creating havoc, when you have the Sixers on the other side wasting possession after possession. In the playoffs, Jeff, same thing in the NFL and any sport. The ball is in your possession. You have to make the most of it. Nobody's going to get upset if you're missing wide open jumpers or layups or can't hit your free throws. What makes me the most upset is when you have a trash possession where you're just taking contested jumpers that have no business of going anywhere or just turning the ball over.
We also saw, Donnie, the big problem with guys like Redick, guys like McConnell. They're nice players. They're effective at times, but they're just not big enough to handle these big guards nowadays. And that was a big problem last night. I mean, Redick had an awful game. I thought he was brutal at times. And, listen, I'm going to come at a guy that his main goal, Donnie, on this team is to shoot the three. Look, if you're wide open late in a game and you're JJ Redick, who's supposed to be a 3-point marksman, you have to make the shot. There's been a lot of times here, Donnie, where he's had the opportunity to hit a big shot, and he's hit it once in a while. But in most big games, he's not hit it. And that was the shot last night. You had to hit. I called this season a waste, and I'm going to tell you why. And I'm going to explain this very, very well, because do I think this team was capable of winning the championship? No. But I did believe they're capable of getting to the Eastern Conference Finals. And if you're going to do it, this is the year to do it. Okay, you have a team in the Celtics. It's down their 2 best players. You really had the opportunity to beat them. All you needed to do was win one more series, and it was this one, to get to the finals. You were favored. You were the better team. You should have executed better. You should have won this series. And that's, for me, why this season was a waste, because I know they're young. I know it's the first true year. But this was the year. It's not going to get any easier from here, and it's going to get actually much more difficult from here. And I have a feeling, Donnie, they think this team's good enough to compete. They might bring in a piece or two, but I have a weird feeling they're going to accept this. I think they're going to think Markelle Fultz will come back and be fine. He'll be our guy. I have a feeling he'll fail, because I believe he's got anxiety issues. I think he has a mental issue right now, and I don't know how quickly that's going to get fixed. You would hope they make the moves, but that's why, to me, this season was a waste, because even being young, even being where you were, you still really should have won this series and should have been in the Eastern Conference Finals. And who knows? Does LeBron beat you? I don't know. Probably. But we have to remember, every single one of you on this chat, and every single one of me and Donnie and all of us, Donnie, at one point in the Cavs season, did you think they would get to the Eastern Conference Finals? Seriously? I mean, they really had struggled. They looked awful against Indiana, but they turned it up. They have LeBron James. I think this season was a waste from that point. And I'm not going to use, I'm just asking, how long do you use the trust the process thing? Because after next year, I don't think you can use it anymore. You know what you have to do now. It's time to go out and make it happen. There's no more excuses, no more do-overs. This is it. You got to go out and make the right decisions, because you're going to have a whole summer to get better. You got to do it.
No, they will. Yeah, and they have $25 million in cap space. They're going to be a top 3 seed in the East for the next 10 years at least, or as long as Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons are healthy. So there's a lot of good basketball to be played. But when you're looking at the needs that you have, you draft Markelle Fultz #1 overall. Why? Because he's a magician with the ball. It doesn't look like anything comes hard to him in college basketball. He's going to be able to beat his man to the rim. So when you have 30 seconds left in the game or 22 seconds, he stands up at the top of the key with the ball, is able to beat his man off the dribble and kick to a wide open jump shooter or get to the rim. Now, you're right about this, Jeff. I've been calling this all the way back. Markelle Fultz looked like he was going to be a decent player in the summer league, and something went drastically wrong, which happens a lot in professional sports. Look at Chuck Knobloch. There's been catchers, Jeff, that can't throw the ball back to the pitcher. Second baseman that can't throw the ball to first base, John Lester. There's a lot of technical difficulties, so to speak, that go on with your mind where some players just lose it. Markelle Fultz never had an injury. Markelle Fultz never had a shoulder injury. That was the Sixers and the agent covering it up, because who has a little bit of fluid drained out of their shoulder and loses their jump shot over a 6-month period of time? It's completely mental, Jeff, and the only problem with that is you never shake it. You never, ever shake that mental glitch there. Look at Charles Barkley's golf swing out there. You don't think guys have gone over time and time again to try to help him? He's never going to not have a hitch in his swing, Jeff, because it's not in his motion. It's in his brain.
Unless he gets on medication, which again, I don't know what medication you could take.
Nah, he's done.
I don't, listen, I will admit from a standpoint of, and I don't know how many people know this, but Donnie, I had to recognize at one point in my adult life, 5 years ago, that I needed some sort of focused ability to focus on things. I had a major problem with, I just couldn't sit and do things. I mean, I was all over the place in high school. I was always all over the place. I got on medication, and I've been on it since, and it's calmed me down. It's not made me perfect, but it's helped me in my personal life as far as being able to focus. I don't know what you do here, and this is a big concern. I'll tell you what. What do you do though? Because you're not going to put him in the summer league, Donnie. Because what happens? What do you get out of doing that?
Well, he has to
If
be
he
in the
looks
summer
bad,
league. I mean, that's where it
no.
doesn't matter
How?
anymore. That's where you break your tendency at.
But
Why would you
but
not put him in
Donnie,
the summer league when it doesn't matter?
because if he fails, you're way behind the 8 ball. What if he goes out there
Well,
and
hold on.
shoots
If he
2
fails
for
in the
12?
summer league, he's going to fail in the regular NBA season. You might as well just move on from him there. His whole goal right now is to
Yeah,
play as much 5-on-5 and say every other time down the court, Markelle, you're going to pull up for three. I don't care if you hit the side of the gym with your 3-point shots, because we're going to work it out. And if it doesn't work, we're just going to have to move on from you. But I've seen it. Look, I'm a Sixer fan, right? We're a Philadelphia fan. I'm rooting for Markelle Fultz. I think he's a flat out bust right now, and I never ever think he's going to regain his number one capability. Can he be a serviceable player in the NBA? Because during the regular season, it's a long season. He can dribble the basketball. If you can't shoot as a point guard, or you're scared to shoot as a point guard, you offer nothing in the NBA unless you're 6'10", 6'11", Ben Simmons, and you don't have a hitch. And you say, you know what? I'll get better in the offseason and work on my jumper. If it's in your mind that you can't pull up from three, you're never going to be a good NBA player.
from what I heard, that, and if you know, and Donnie, you live around here, you hear they've been very cryptic on this guy. They don't ever answer questions about it. They don't feel, and listen, they don't feel that the fan base is owed an explanation, which I think's kind of arrogant, frankly. And I think they
Yeah,
should
but
be
we know.
forced to give us it. Right. But from what I've heard, they're not too keen on putting him in the summer league. From what I've
So, I
heard
mean, you
on the
should cut.
radio,
Well,
and things
if
like that.
if he can't go in the summer league, you should cut him right now. Or
Right.
you could probably trade him and get like a second round pick for him,
And
just to unload his contract so it doesn't go against you and move on. Because just having a guy dribbling the basketball, I mean, TJ McConnell is leaps and bounds and way better of an NBA player than Markelle Fultz will ever be at this point right now. Can you imagine if you had a point guard that was shorter and all he could do was drive to the rim but couldn't finish anything because he didn't have a jump shot? He's not an NBA player then. He's just not even an NBA player.
no, and I'll go back to the old thing of this is the why you must draft better. This has been a problem for so many years with this group, from Evan Turner to Nerlens Noel to Jaleel Okafor, back to Michael Carter Williams to Sam
Yeah, but
Dallenberg to
Carter
Sean
Williams was the
Bradley.
12th pick, though. Yeah, but the Sean Bradley one was a bad one, but I don't really
Okay,
fault the
Donnie,
Sixers that many
leave
times. You
out
had to
Carter.
have a backup plan for Jaleel Okafor. But poor
Okay,
Porzingis, nobody even knew really about that. That guy
this
could have turned into the next Darko Milicic.
this team has drafted hideously, and there's zero excuse. Donnie, don't make excuses for them. They have not drafted
What? Embiid was
correctly.
a great
They,
draft pick. Simmons was a great
I'm
draft pick.
not
It's hard
talking
in the
about
NBA
those
to draft.
two. Obviously,
Who are you talking about?
those aren't okay. Those two worked out. They have drafted hideously over the last years. There's
Over who,
no
though?
denying it. They
Who
failed
did what
miserably.
player,
What
though?
do you mean on who? Everybody but Simmons and Embiid. What are you talking
Who?
about?
But who? But who are you drafted over? Like, explain it to me. Like, who you're going to take? Evan
You
Turner was a two-man draft. It was John Wall or Evan Turner and
Evan
nobody else.
Turner,
What are you saying? You're not going to draft Evan
Marcus.
Turner in the two
He's
spot
got
when
about
everybody had him there?
Forgot about DeMarcus Cousins. Should have took DeMarcus
DeMarcus
Cousins.
Cousins
That
was
was a
one punch away
that was a
from being
complete
like 8
miss.
years in jail. Nobody was DeMarcus Cousins was the
Complete
ultimate
miss.
flyer in that draft because he's a
You
loose
know,
cannon idiot. You
let's
weren't
hear about loose
drafting
cannon.
DeMarcus
You
Cousins in
drafted
that
Allen
spot.
Iverson. What are you talking about, loose cannons?
Allen
What do you
Iverson was
mean?
far and away the best overall draft pick in that. What that you can't say you could draft. Nobody wanted DeMarcus Cousins unless he fell to you at that point.
This team has failed miserably. They were fleeced last year. They've been fleeced time and time again. They need to be smarter. That's what I'm trying to say. You hit with Embiid and Simmons. I won't deny that. But this is going to be one of your great failures. And look, I like Markel. He's a nice kid. I like watching him dribble the basketball around. He's kind of fluid with the ball. But like Donnie said, this is looking like a bit of a failure at this point. The kid can't get on the court. And it's sickening and hard to watch him just sit there and cheer for his opponents. You're cheering for TJ McConnell. Where you're at with this. I mean, is he that mentally wrong that he can't even get in a game? And Donnie, you look at Ben Simmons. He didn't look too mentally strong either in this series. I mean, how many times did we see him, not wanting to shoot the ball? At what point are these two gonna, get with it? I mean, did Ben Simmons look a little timid to you? He looked a little timid to me at times. Got going
Yeah, no,
yesterday.
he'll get better. I think he's a workout rat, and he's going to get his game. I mean, he was unbelievable this year in the NBA. And you're right, he has to work on that 16, 17-foot jumper. If he puts that together, it'll make him even more dominant on the court. I'm not worried about him, Joel, or anybody, but Markelle Fultz right now, that's just a flat-out busted pick. And you can't bust when you trade up and go up and get the number 1 overall pick. You just can't bust that pick. That hurts.
No, you're right. You busted it. And Donnie, I mean, you look even back I mean, I in the last 10 years, I would like to see, in your opinion, where they were successful in drafts, other than Embiid and Simmons.
Yeah, but it's all
What
about the
draft picks?
times. I mean, if you thought like Jahlil Okafor was widely the number 3 overall pick, nobody wanted Porzingis at that point. Remember when Porzingis went to the Knicks fans were ready to burn the garden down, and everybody panned like, "Oh my
And
God, here comes Darko Milicic,"
so
and
I
it worked out well. Good for Phil Jackson at that point. But there are hit and misses. But you're not drafting Porzingis third over Jahlil Okafor at that point when Joel Embiid. You didn't even know if Embiid was even going to get on the court at that point.
But again, you're going off opinions of fans and where he was drafted. What
No,
does
not.
that
But I'm
matter?
just saying at that point, nobody had Porzingis going over Jahlil Okafor. Nobody.
We'd have to go back to the speculation at that point. But either way, we're going down
And
roads that are going to take
Porzingis,
us
if I remember
wrong here.
correctly, Porzingis wouldn't even give his medicals to the Sixers because he was forcing his way not to be taken by the Philadelphia 76ers. There's a lot of stuff that goes into that. If a guy doesn't want to play for you and you don't know much about him, you're going to take Okafor at number 3, just the way it is.
No, I think they've been horrible in these drafts. They have to do better. They have to make this one work because you agree, Donnie. They need a wing defender. You got to get some kind of big wing
Yeah. Oh,
defender.
yeah.
You got to go out and try to get Bridges. I mean, he would be a great pick for this group. Um, you know, listen. Last thing I'll say, and you will agree with this. I mean, at what point do you cut the cord with Covington? I mean, you're paying this
You
guy a
can't.
ton of
Just
money.
paid him.
You can't though. I
That's the
guess
problem.
that's
Yeah.
kind of
I
where
mean,
you're
yeah,
at with it.
hopefully somebody takes him or he's a throw-in player or, if you try to trade or you say, hey, San Antonio, I know Kawhi's unhappy. What do you do with this? But it's hard to trade a guy that you just give money to. And in the big moments, and I don't care about what website said he's a great defender. I use my eyes. That's who tells me who's a great defender out there. Covington gives you nothing except, when you get it back to this realm, if Covington, Jeff, had a 4-year, $17 million contract total, you would say, you know what, Covington? Good on you, man. Try your best out there. But the minute you get the big contract, you better perform because everything is related to how much money you're making in the NBA. Covington at $3 or $4 million a year, I'll take him. 16 million a year, hell out of town.
Covington in the series, Donnie, 11 for 41 from the field,
Yeah, come on.
uh,
Get out.
26%, uh, and had 6.8 points a game. Uh, Very poor, really ugly. Yeah, you're down a bad road here, unfortunately. And I think everyone saw it. It was on national TV. Can't hide from this. Um, we move on. Eastern Conference, Western Conference final. Donnie, who was most to blame for the Sixers losing?
It's hard to say who was to blame, but I guess if you just square it up and said, look, man, I needed more, it had to be Covington, right? Like, I mean, there's a lot of blame to go on. You can blame Ben Simmons for the one game he had 1 point, but overall in the court where you just let your eyes focus on something, if you're a 3 and D guy, you don't make threes or play defense, I'm going to blame you.
Okay. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I mean, there were a couple people that had a lot of trouble. The bench didn't play particularly well, I didn't think. Covington was awful. Yeah, it was ugly. But we move on. Eastern Conference, Western Conference predictions. Donnie, no one's going to hold you to this. I'll give mine as well. Where do you see these series going?
Yeah, I mean, you might as well. It's kind of interesting because you know what? Let me take a look at the updated odds here, Jeff, for the game 1 series, and it looks like again, which always caught my eye, like Pinnacle -2, Intertops -2. So the Houston Rockets are favored in the first game at -2, Jeff. Right? Well, how are they such an underdog in the overall series? Can you explain that to me there? Because if I'm just looking the way it's supposed to be, and I know what the NBA likes, I really want to see Cavs Golden State again because there's bad blood in that. And it just interests me more than that. And I'll stick with the chalk guys. But it's just a weird opportunity here, Jeff, where the home team, home court advantage is with the Rockets and their favorite game 1, but they're underdogs and a decided underdog at like, -160 or whatever for the series going back to Golden State, maybe even a little bit higher. It's just a weird dichotomy on this one.
No, it definitely is. I think they'll win one game, maybe two, but I don't think it's going to be the first game. Obviously, they do have home court advantage, which is a big thing. But yeah, that's interesting for sure. I'll go Golden State in five. I'll go. Um, I'm gonna go out on a limb here. I'll go Celtics in six. I think they beat the
Hmm.
Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah, it's not Cleveland's good. I mean, they got a lot of rest in there, so they'll be rested and ready to go. Another tough series. I mean, it was still a 5 game series, but still a tougher series because of every way these games came down with that Philadelphia Boston series. It should be fun though, but I'm really looking forward to the Western Conference. Golden State in 5. How about that? I just think they kick them around, even though they have the home court. I think it might go a
I
little
think
bit longer. I always like to take a look at saying, you know what? If Golden State's not the home team in this one, I would go 6 because theoretically they would be home for game 6. It would be a nice closeout scenario. If Golden State maybe was the home team and had home court advantage, Jeff, I would agree with your 5, but I'll go game 6, 4-2 win for Golden State.
But either way, I think we can agree. Golden State will beat Houston. Golden State's winning the title. No other team's going to
Yeah.
beat them here.
Yeah.
They're just aren't as good as Golden State. But I do believe that the Celtics can beat the Cleveland Cavaliers. I mean, obviously LeBron is going to be a huge part of it, but I think you have some defenders there that can bother him a bit. I don't think it's going to be as easy as it was against Toronto. Ananobi just struggled. I mean, that was just the truth of the matter. And you know, I think they have some defenders that can bother him. We'll see. I think that'll be a fun series. That should be a good one.
Yeah.
Imagine
Yeah.
if Kawhi
Yeah.
or Kyrie Leonard or Kyrie Irving was playing. I mean, that would be
Yeah.
what a build up to that.
It's
Now
kind of
we got to wait.
interesting because of how well Tatum is playing at that point. I mean, it's funny because you're going to bring back Hayward and Kyrie. Does that mess up the team chemistry that you have at this point? Because there's only one basketball and only a certain amount of people can play. There's going to be a lot of unhappy players on the Celtics next year.
Yeah. No, we'll see. By the way, no coach of the year votes for the Oracle Brad Stevens. How about that? Such a great coach.
Yeah, I
Not
don't
one.
understand it. I don't like he is a really good coach, and I get that. But is there something we don't know about? Like when you watch Brad Stevens, he's not overbearing on the sideline. He's just a straight talker in the press conferences there. What did he do behind the scenes with the other coaches? Like, is he just one of those guys that, is the analytical guy that if there's, hey, everybody, let's take the coach's picture and he doesn't want to get in it? Or you have like, a summit where all the NBA coaches get together in the all season to talk about regulations for the next year and he just doesn't want to talk to anybody. There's got to be some behind the scenes where, because he's a very good coach. And for to say, what he did with this team, they don't vote, Jeff, until after the season. So you saw how everybody went down. They still played well at this point. Not to get a single vote. Like there wasn't one coach out there who's like, yo, he's a good coach. I'll vote for him.
Yeah, and even Brett Brown said, "Well, I probably would have voted for him." Well, why didn't you then? You had a vote. Why didn't you vote for him? Uh, USMC 28. The Bucks nearly took the Celtics out. Well, I mean, I don't know if you saw it, but Pacers almost took the Cavs out. So that argument's not particularly good. I mean, look, no, there's no bigger defender right now of LeBron than Donnie and I. We've been very evident of that. All I'm saying is I don't think we should just count the Celtics out just like that. They did a lot of really impressive things in game 5 last night. They were very impressive this whole series. We'll see. I don't think it's big issue, and I think the Celtics will beat Cleveland. And lucky, very good point as always. Cleveland doesn't play any defense. I thought Toronto would just pretty much after what was it, game one, Donnie, where they kind of blew it. It seemed like they'd
Yeah.
never really
Yep.
refocused after that. Let's get into MLB. We got about 10 minutes or so here.
Mhm.
MLB last night, not a heavy card, but kind of a fun one per se. We talked about that Mets screw up already. Donnie, how about the Yankees? Another win. This team's fun to watch, man. It really, I had it on my iPad as I was watching the game, and what an amazing team right now. 17 of 18, all rise. Aaron Judge with a big home run. They never quit, Donnie. It's a tough world if you don't like seeing the Yankees win right now because they are handling the Boston Red Sox and looking for another big one today with CC on the mound.
Yeah, Cece's been pitching well. It is going to be a nice matchup today to try to get you through a nice Thursday schedule of baseball. But getting back to the Yankees last night, you're right. Never give up on that. And how can you give up, Jeff? You have three Goliaths out there that could be playing left and right tackle in the NFL at this point that match the baseball. Now, yeah, Gary Sanchez, a little bit slow season to start, but you're looking at Aaron Judge and Stanton out there just destroying baseballs. Are you ever out of the game, Jeff? Reminds me back, when the Phillies used to smash in 2008, 9, and 10, where they just waited the Charlie Manuel-led Phillies for the three-run home run. If you're down 4-1, 5-1, and it's the seventh inning, you didn't even stress. If you get a couple guys on base, somebody is going to be able to leave the yard with one, and that's a nice thing to have. But it all gets back to Jeff the pitching. As long as you can get pitching for the New York Yankees, they will be in it right to the end. I think, wild card team division, that's going to be up for grabs. But the Yankees will make moves, as I said all along at the trade deadline, if they need it. They are a fun team, Jeff, and the weather is just starting to change. Balls are going to be flying, Jeff, in the Bronx. Fun team, you're right.
Yeah, they will. A couple comments. GW, Brett Brown voted for himself. LOL. Yeah, I don't think he can, but he probably would. Jesus Cabrera. Explain this comment, Donnie. BMOC's tight because Boston beat his Sixers. I just said they beat the Cavs. What am I tight about? I think they're going to beat the Cavs. I don't think you're hearing what I'm saying. Rashad Sutton, you're smoking crack, bro. Cleveland got LeBron. It's over for Boston. All right. Well,
Hmm.
listen, I'm not sure smoking crack just because I think I mean, I don't think that's that big, unbelievable, is it, Donnie? That the Celtics could win. I don't think they're not playing the Suns. I mean, I think they have a chance.
No, it's going to be a good one. Yeah, I
Um,
mean, it's a good team. It's a good team. Hey, look, it's a shot makers league, right? Jeff, if the Sixers made some shots today, we will be talking Sixers and Cavs on Sunday at the Wells Fargo Center. But if you don't make your shots, you ain't moving on there. The one good thing that you have with Cleveland, Jeff, I think it's pretty, you can watch the games and say if it's 96-96 with 14 seconds to go, LeBron's probably not going to just turn it over without getting a shot off there. So it should be a fun series.
Chris Abiani, thanks for listening. One other comment: Sixers are trash. People got dicked because they had a whole lot of wins second half. But they had one of the easiest schedules after All-Star break. Heat were a mess and were all over the place. All right. Well, yeah, listen, I mean, I don't know about that, but they definitely struggled with a lot of mental mistakes, young mistakes that you make with a young team. What are you going to do? Donnie, Phillies, they were on point last night, though, and they're looking for a
Yeah.
four-game sweep today against the Giants. Giants have come in playing good baseball, not so fast. Phillies have figured it out, and they're looking pretty good right now.
Yeah, getting good pitching from the youngsters there, and they seem to be playing really well at home. Which, hey, if you're going to win at home, you want to pick up maybe half of your wins, maybe on the road, but take care of business at home. It is nice, and it's again the weather's changing, the team's hitting. You didn't even have Reese Hoskins in the lineup yesterday. They smoke and put up 11 runs. You're going to come back today, not against another power pitcher for the Giants, a getaway type game in Philadelphia. Early start, Jeff, 135 with Velasquez on the mound. See if they can get on a roll here. I still harken back to that last game they lost versus Max Scherzer and the Nationals. Would have been nice to pick up that victory there, but nonetheless, hey, look, I don't know if the Phillies are going to make the playoffs. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, but just give us some fun baseball throughout the season. Let some of these young kids progress and see what happens.
A lot of fun comments today, Donnie. The NBA needs the revenue. Refs control the league. Cavs,
Yes, they
Celtics,
do.
7.
They do.
Yeah, I know. I noticed last night they controlled the game. I mean, keep in mind there won't be a game till Monday, and there's so many
Yeah.
hands in the NBA. Why didn't the Sixers win last night then?
You exactly should have had a
Um,
foul last night, Jeff. Come on,
yeah.
man. And be down low, got fouled, didn't get the call. It's the way it is what it is.
Calvin M checking in. Morning, fellow wanks. That's very nice.
Hmm.
Calvin calling us wankers. But he does say it's his favorite show. So
Okay, maybe he's from
thanks,
Britain.
Cal.
Maybe he's from Britain. Yeah.
Yes, good point. I say wanker quite frequently. I like that
Yeah.
word. Fun word. Rocky shut out of Coors. Angels came to play last night. Night before, it was the Rockies kind of handling the business. It's been a pretty even series. It's over now. Rockies are still playing well. I don't knock their play lately. They've been very good. I think they've won 7 of 9, something like that. Donnie, also White Sox blow another one. 2 straight days, they're up 4-0 and lose. This is a bad team,
This
man.
one was
Uh,
worse. Yeah, 4 up. You give
yeah,
up 4 in the
this.
ninth inning, man. Just close them out, man. Come on, you're not. It's not the 19, 23 or whatever Yankees lineup that you're facing yesterday in Pittsburgh. Just close them out. If you give up a run or two, that's fine. You give up 4 in the ninth. Jesus.
Yeah, that Nate, one of the home runs Nate Jones gave up was ugly, man. It was just a meatball right down the middle. The kid smacked it. Let's get into today's action, Donnie. What do you got?
Let's see what we got here. Today's action had a couple things lined up and ready to go. All right, we'll start. We'll go right in line with rotation, Jeff. 913, 914. Kansas City and Baltimore. Now, last night, Jeff, I had the over 10 minus 105 in that game, which I know a lot of people was very popular bet yesterday. I don't really like to fade the public. If the numbers make sense yesterday in that game, Jeff, which to me, they made a lot of sense. You got a slow start in this one. They heated up. I believe they had 5 runs midway through the game at that point. And then there was that key, which we all know, Jeff, when we're gamblers out there, were runs that you need to capitalize. There was 2 instances, at first and third, with Trey Mancini up, who strikes out. And then you had the very next batter, which was Adam Jones, just looking to get, something, just put the ball in play. Well, he does that and gets a double play. There was also a key 2-out instance with Kansas City where there was a double, and Lucas Duda is so slow he can't score from first to third on a double, or excuse me, first to home on a double with 2 outs there, which was disappointing. And then also bases loaded with Alcides Escobar, 2 outs, he couldn't get the job done. And then you move it on to the ninth inning, Jeff, when all was looking bleak and 5-3, you get your first 2 runners on, you get a gift there with an error. Then they steal the base with steal second and third with 2 outs, and John Jay strikes out. You had a lot of chances that one didn't come up, but today Jeff Tillman's on the mound. You know how much I've railed against him. Ian Kennedy's going to oppose him. 53% of the tickets on the Kansas City Royals. Looks like it opened up about a pick'em. Jeff, Intertop showing a pick'em right now, minus 105 each side. Over under hefty again, Jeff. 10.5. Whoo, how about that one?
Yeah, I'm gonna listen. I'm taking the Royals if I have to play this game. I mean, again, I'm probably not going to play this game because I don't really want to bet on Ian Kennedy. But Ian Kennedy's actually been pretty good, Donnie. I mean, it's a wonder what happens when Ian Kennedy doesn't give up home runs, which he hasn't given up a ton. He's actually been very good, 2.92 in 7 games. I do want to take a look at his xFIP to see what his true ERA is, just because guys like Ian Kennedy, the ERA being low can minimize some things that he might not be doing. But listen, how do you bet Baltimore right now? Really, I don't really see any reason to do it, especially with Tillman on the hill. Ian Kennedy's been pretty solid, and I like this lineup obviously much more. I think they get the job done. I don't think there's ever a bad thing betting against a team with 8 wins.
Yeah. Couple minutes left in the show. We'll speed it up here for us, Jeff. Let's go back to the Bronx, 915, 916. Rodriguez and Sabathia. Sabathia pitching very well here, Jeff. Let's see if he can continue it now that the temperatures start to heat up in the Bronx. But another good game on deck today. 66% of the tickets weighing in, Jeff, and betting the New York Yankees. If you look at the line, opened up at 53 and 55 out there, but zipping back, Jeff, Intertops minus 133. So a 20% difference change in there. Over under 9.5 in the Bronx today, Jeff's got a lot of runs yesterday when you maybe thought wasn't going to be that high, with an 8.5 total, getting about 15, 16 runs yesterday. But now we're going back there. Looks like that over under sitting at 9.5 runs are expected today in the Bronx.
Yeah, and it's not good for the Red Sox that you're looking at possibly getting swept here, and you have Eduardo Rodriguez in the mound, who, look, I mean, frankly, has looked bad his last 2 games. 10 earned runs over his last 10 innings. He's been striking a lot of people out, but he's given up home runs too. His control's been all over the place. Luckily, they've scored runs for him, and it's been against bad teams. Either though, again, we don't have a ton of time, so I can't go too deep, unfortunately. But I think the Yankees get the sweep here. Frankly, I really do. I know the line's peeling
Yep.
back a bit, but Sabathia's been very good. But other than that, guys, we got to wrap it up. Unfortunately, we only have a certain amount of time. We had fun doing the show here today. Always in fun talking with you guys here on the chat. We'll be back Friday again. We'll hit the baseball card hard tomorrow. I know we kind of were slow on that today, but everyone have a great day. We'll see you back later. I'll be on 2 o'clock Premier League Punters. Check that out. Final week of the Premier League season. We'll finish that up. Donnie, thanks as always for starting the show out. And we'll see you tomorrow here in the right side of campus. Bye bye.